Okay, so Earth Conflux. It changed a lot on like floor 21. This ability here, spell feedback. So anytime you cast a spell, there's spikes come out of the ground underneath the healing target that do a bunch of damage, AoE damage, and last for 3 seconds. Now, instead of targeting the Earth Zealot, the healing target. He will target a ranged, or it doesn't even have to be ranged. Anything that's farther behind the Earth Zealot will get targeted instead of the Earth Zealot. So you can use that to your advantage. A lot of people use Giant, and just make them real tanky with emblems and whatnot, and just heal the crap out of them. It's the main Astral strategy because Astral doesn't really have to cast spells. Actually, 21 I did with just Dracon and just not casting anything and just standing there, because Dracon gives your priest here 2 heals, and but that doesn't work for. It worked for 21, but I couldn't get any farther like that. Then I figured out artifacts, spells, count as spells and trigger the spikes. So curse, all the artifact summons, all that stuff. So I have a separate roster with all that taken off, because any of that will trigger the spikes right at the start. A whole bunch of them. Now, this is my basic Earth setup. Since then, I changed it depending on which hero I'm using. I'm actually going to show a couple strats. But the Vampire, we want him because he's taking a bunch of damage, because he's not a tank. Chargers will run to the back, but not if they get targeted and engage with one in the front. So if you have him in front, he won't run to the back. With his Awaken ability, his lifesteal does AoE heals. So that's why I got the Pit Fiend here. Also does an heal in his lane. And she does those 2 little summons, which count as healing received when the Vampire heals him up. The Ogre, you always want for Earth, because this ability just improves all healing, obviously. I have Everlasting on him to level up the abilities I use. And then, Blood Pool. This increases life drain. It's important that when they engage, that the Ogre moves down and clumps up with the Vampire, because otherwise the Vampire's going to have trouble staying alive without that boost to his life drain. Angel, I have marked with Everlasting for this. A little bit of percentage max hit points to everybody every 2 seconds. That adds up quite a bit. Monk I have for obvious reasons, although he gets one shot by the fire elementals a lot. I don't really have room to bring a fire elemental to raise his fire resistance. You kind of just accept that he's not going to last. Sometimes though, when he dies and he reses, it's a good way to clear the psychic elementals without casting spells, because he'll target them. And then Genie, again for obvious reasons. I have her marked with Anger because she's not going to do the most healing Vampire is by far, but she's going to be doing the important healing, keeping the Lich alive. Instead of a Giant like a lot of people use, I'm using a Lich. Because I have Vitamina 3-star, that gives her extra hit points. My Necro's strong, she's woke and whatnot. She's pretty tanky. And yeah, see this, she gets 50 extra range for every Necropolis unit. That's why I'm using skeletons here. Because if Vampire skeletons and her make it so that her range is long enough that she will stop behind the boss. And so when we cast spells, she's going to get targeted by the Earth Spikes. And we have the Genie up here. The reason a lot of people use Giant, like I said, but Genie's heals take a long time to travel. Having the Lich right there makes it easier to keep her alive. Especially as she dies down from 4 units, because if there's only 1 unit, you won't get as much healing on him, but the Genie's going to hit that 1 unit with all of its attacks, so it's a lot easier to keep alive. And where is it? The Awaken ability. Defense and life drain for all Necropolis units. So defense we normally don't want a bunch of in Earth Conflux, because we want to be taking damage to heal, but the Vampire, that boost to life drain and defense is going to keep him alive because he's not a tank, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I did change it up for the first round. I'm going to show first strategy. I'm going to show is for Gelu. I changed it up, and I did bring a giant. Where is it? Because I was just sick of the monks dying on me, and this is just so I could basically he's sacrificial. So instead of worrying about keeping the lich alive, at first I'm just gonna get a bunch of spell casts off, and let the giant die to it. I'm gonna wait until 45 seconds. So the angel will res him, because sometimes when the angel reses the lich, even if you keep it alive after the res, it moves forward, and then the spikes will start hitting the heal target, and you'll be fucked. So this way, the way I did it this way is get a few free spells for the giant, make use of the angel res, because when the angel res, I have it woke 3-star, so it makes everything immune for a while. So that'll give me some more free spells, because it'll switch to targeting the lich, because it'll still be farther back. It's not as far back as a giant, but it's farther back than the healing target. That'll give me some more free spells. And then if I do lose the lich, which lots of times I will, but I'll be close enough, and you can just power through and heal that last bit. It's actually helpful in a sense, because you start taking damage, more damage to heal. And then also, so she dies, and the giant's already dead. The vampire's the next most likely one to die. Sometimes the pit fiend. If the vampire dies, then that's going to proc my backup troops too, which I have rock set for. So then, or not rock, Phoenix. And then he's got lifesteal, and he gets heals on crits or whatever. Although if it gets to that point, it's like a last ditch effort. Then you blast all your spells. You frenzy, I have, and all that. Spikes will kill the Phoenix right away, and then you get another round when the Phoenix comes up to carry you through the end. In order to get the genie to keep the lich alive, you have to frenzy her sometimes, but you get more bang for your buck frenzying this bottom group by the vampire right before a blood pool, because that AoE heals is big, and he does it all the time. So anyway, we'll show the first strat here. Okay, so I haven't done anything. I'm waiting for it to get close to 15 seconds in the initial cooldown on the angel res. You can see how far the genie heals have to travel to get to that giant. And you also want to wait at the beginning as well, just to see where the first fire elemental nukes are going to go. I went back and checked it. I was like, holy shit, he's still alive. So he lived through the first round because of the frenzy on the heals. I have rush tactic marked because that makes her heal quicker as well. Alright, so there goes the giant. He's back up, so I keep casting spells. I use my Titan's Thunder, kill some psychic elementals. And then all the other buffs go on the genie, obviously for magical weight procs. Now I stopped, the giant's dead. But he carried us through that first minute. So I cast Rush Tactic first, because when I frenzy him, I want the genie to already be targeting the lich. Not have to switch targets. So by casting Rush Tactic first, the lich starts taking damage from it, and then yeah, you see I got it down to 1, which is not as good for my heals, because obviously you're not healing so much damage but on the lich, but it makes it way easier to keep her alive, so I can get away with frenzying the bottom group some, although I taking it careful at first. So then I once the frenzy's up and the genie's targeting her, I blast all my spells. And stop casting again. There's a lot of weight, and after 21, and that's the gist of it. I'm going to fast forward it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not actually going to finish it, because once I do, I can't run Earth Conflux again until I hit level 100. So, and I wouldn't be able to experiment with new strats or show you this other strategy with Mephala. Now, her alt will not protect the healing target from the spikes. It will protect your units from the spikes. Earth Shield, unfortunately, does not. It's not earth damage, which would be awesome if it was. So Mephala makes it easy, obviously, to keep the Lich alive, or a Giant if you're doing that. However, the problem with Earth Conflux a lot of times is getting damage to heal. Frenzy hurts your troops, that can help. Using the spikes to create damage to heal, obviously, is the main strategy. But if they're in a Mephala ult, they can't. You can get them to take a few ticks of damage and then ult them, and then cast the spell so that the spikes are still going, but not enough to finish it. Kill the unit when the ult wears off. That'll get you some damage. But what I decided to do was mark Death Ripple. Frantic does damage, but neither of the heroes that have it have any buffs to proc Magic Awake. And that's why you wait until see where the fireball goes before you cast anything. If at first he does succeed, right? So anyway, I brought Swordsman because they're a 9-man unit and they're not Necropolis. So they'll get hurt quite a bit by the Death Ripples. Now you'll see I'll wait a little bit. Let the Lich take a little bit of damage. Death Ripple. Vampire heals all that damage back up. Boom. That meter's filling up pretty quick here. Now I will run out of cast of Death Ripple. I happen to have 4. Which is more than I normally would have. I think I went hard on them when they first came out because I wanted to put them on Sandra, put it on Sandra or something. But in any case, you can see here, Vampire heals them up. Boom. Trying to get damage to heal is a big problem. You can't mark Earthquake. Mutair and one of the AC heroes have Frantic, but they don't have any other buffs to proc Genie Magic Awakes. What you can do, another thing you can do is turn on the artifact skeletons, or you will get spiked at the beginning, but you'll be able to heal through it. And then when the artifact skeletons die, they count as a defender, and it'll spawn sprites. You can make your Genie really tanky. In fact, that would be the way to do probably a Dracon don't cast anything strategy at this point. Would be to, because the problem with that is getting damage to heal. And if you have sprites beaten on your Genies, and you made your Genies real tanky with emblems or whatnot, then that would be a constant trickle of damage to heal, and you can spawn those sprites without things getting out of control with an artifact skeleton. That's why I haven't finished Earth Conflux yet, because there's a lot of fun stuff you can do, and running out of stuff to do on a Sunday. But Death Ripple seems to work really well, obviously. You're not going to get as much damage from hitting 1-man units with it. You get a bunch of damage by hitting 9-mans with it. That's hence the Swordsman. And it won't hurt the Vampires or the Lich, which is important, or the top tank. I was tanking the top with Bone Dragon for a while, actually. If you put them one back, the Storm Elementals won't zap them. But it was just one more thing to worry about, and I was getting enough damage to heal. So I swapped in the Skeletons, because I still need to maintain that at least 3 Necro to keep the Lich behind the healing target. And until someone on my server beats 23, I will keep on experimenting